Welcome to Bite Size Dental Marketing. Today I have Ash with me. Ash works at Edwards and Associates and does amazing things. I mean, Ash, I think we share 25, 30 offices together, and everyone speaks such highly of you guys. And the one that I remember the most is Robert sent us a video to edit. And I was like, man, and it was, the noise was terrible. He was standing in front of a helicopter. I'm not, no, an airplane,
Mhm.
and it was a dentist down in Seven Points that I didn't even know that we had a mutual client together. But and he was giving this great testimonial. But you guys sent us the video to see if we could cut the propeller noise out of it. And his name was Dr. Lohr, and he sold his practice. But I think it was that moment that I realized what a small world it is in the dental space. Is that I knew we had 20 accounts together by then that we shared, but to have this random one come across our desk to help you guys clean up, I'm like, oh my God, that's one of our offices, was pretty funny. Man,
Oh
I
yeah.
love a good I love a good origin story. I'd love to hear how you ended up at Edwards and Associates and where you came from and what's going on in the marketplace.
Well, first and foremost, I am honored to be on this podcast. It's great. I know you guys have been working on this for some time, so to finally see it come to fruition and be here, it's great. And being a fellow podcaster myself, I know it's quite an achievement, especially just to get the ball rolling.
It's been a long hard journey. Oh,
Yeah. I'm actually an accounting major, right? So when I went to school, decided, uh, you know what? Honestly, I need to go further back. I was actually a pre-med major originally. I
okay.
remember uh, they gave me a scholarship for it, but I was looking for a second scholarship to add on that would also cover my room and board. But they changed some kind of a policy. This was way back when the recession just kicked in around 2008, and they said, you know what? We just changed our policy that each student is capable of getting only one scholarship at a time. And I'm like, oh boy, now what do I do? And I think they were talking about like maybe going to a community college or something and then coming back maybe if the policy changes. But then I remember talking to an uncle of mine who was a CPA, and I was kind of sharing my concerns with him that, hey, look, I'm in pre-med, but with the way things are, I just don't know what I should do. And he was like, you know what? Have you ever considered switching to business? Like a
Mhm.
bit becoming a business major. I'm like, no, I never have. And he's like, well, I'm in public accounting. And if you want to, you can just try at accounting for a little bit, because believe it or not, especially in the tax area, it's somewhat recession proof. Because
Mhm.
regardless
Mhm.
of how your clients are doing, they're still obligated to, file their due diligence work.
Yep.
So
Got to
that got
follow those gap principles.
right. Gap principles, exactly. And I think that got me thinking. I'm like, you know what? Just for one semester, let me take a couple of accounting classes. Let's see if I like
Mhm.
it. I took a couple of classes and it was nice and I was doing well and was pretty intriguing and that just led me into this field. Now, Edwards and Associates, this is funny because I was originally in Pennsylvania and then I transferred in to University of Texas at Dallas here in Texas. But when I came here, I barely knew anyone here, let alone someone within the industry who was going to write me a recommendation letter for a job or even an internship. I remember during my senior year I was frightened. I was constantly like, "Oh my goodness, am I even going to have a job, once I graduate?" But during this marketing project, I remember just bringing that up with my group members. And one of those group members overheard me saying that I'm looking for a job currently in the market. And what she did was she went and told her mom that, "Hey, um, I have a friend who's looking for an internship. Can you help him out?" Now, the mom was actually working at Edwards and Associates at that time. And she was like, "Oh, you're talking about a friend? Sure, just pass me the resume and, all his information." And one day this girl just calls me up and says, "Hey, can I have your resume? I may know someone who can help you out." And I'm like, "Okay, sure." So I passed her the information and she forwarded it to her mother. And then next thing I know, I get called in for an interview, did the interview, got an offer right then and there. And then that's just how it started up. And this was like 8 years ago.
Oh, that's so great. Now, was the interview with Robert or was it with someone else?
No, it was actually with Lynn in the office.
Lynn. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to have Lynn on the podcast. Her and I are kindred spirits at networking events. We both sort of,
Sweet.
find other introverts and, like sort of pull off to the corner while Andre and Robert and the others,
You're right.
run out there and
I
take the
see what you
limelight.
mean.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
But she does a lot for the firm, honestly. I mean, what you just mentioned, because she tries to stay away from the limelight, a lot of times she gets unnoticed. But believe it or not, this firm wouldn't have been where it is had she not been there.
No, you can just see when you talk to her that she knows exactly what she's talking about, and it's pretty fascinating. Like I've always enjoyed my conversations with her. We traded a couple of books. It doesn't have to be crazy at work by the Basecamp guys and the Netflix,
Mm-hmm.
culture book. We've traded. We have a book club. I need to get her into.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
what do you see happening in the industry as we go through this 2023 and no one's talking about COVID and everyone, is talking about recession and
Yeah.
I I guess what as of last month we're technically not in a bull market again. I What's going on out there?
Well, honestly, in the dental world, I feel like the one thing that we have to talk about would be impact the solicitors are having on our clients.
Hmm.
There was a specific COVID relief option that was available, honestly, since 2021, but because solicitors have gotten more informed on it just recently, they're being more active about it. It's called the Employee Retention Credit.
Uh-huh.
So we've been getting a lot of questions from our clients regarding that and saying, hey, how do I apply for it? Or can you get me the documents? When in reality, we've already done it for them. Like 2 years ago when it first came out, we went ahead and filed for the credit. One thing we always have taken pride in is that we try to stay informed on what's going on within the industry, not just, with benchmarks, but at the same time with any kind of tax credits that are out there or other relief options that our clients can utilize and take advantage of. You may already know this. We're members of the Academy of Dental CPAs,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a vast network all across the country. And what we do is we work as a group to get all the information that we need so we can stay on top of things and be one of the first within the industry to be able to notify our clients. Um, so going back to your question, the ERC is one of those things that we're having to tackle right now. The other concern is what you just mentioned, with COVID kind of like messing up trajectories, forecasting the plans. You
Mm-hmm.
can't really, go off of those quarterly reports anymore. They're having to set a new platform or new starting point, so to speak, where, a lot of the clients are going above and beyond, doing more during Q1. And I know, right now we're in June of 2023. They're doing the same thing in Q2, hoping for a better outcome by the time they start out Q3.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some of the changes that I'm noticing, which honestly intrigues me sometimes when I'm talking to them, is they're being really creative. Some of my clients are being
Uh-huh.
really, really creative. Like they are doing diversified services. They're not, what I mean by that is they're not just sticking to the traditional services that they offer. Like for instance, let's say we're talking about a general dentist. And he's got a practice with 5 operatory rooms. Maybe he has only 3 equipped. The two, it's been sitting there. They're coming up with ways where they can utilize those 2 other operatory rooms and still generate revenue. Like one of them, I think, recently got into facial aesthetics.
Uh-huh.
Uh, yeah, bought like this huge equipment, and the company offered like CE and training and separate marketing for it. This client now offers, Botox and other things that he enmeshed with his current portfolio of services that he offers. I have another client who has joined forces with family members that are in the med spa
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
industry. Um, trying to provide that, like even on the website, they'll mention that if you're interested in this, click here, and then we'll be able to help you out with this. So it's kind of fascinating for
Yeah,
that.
It's pretty wild out there right now. We had a doctor from Chicago come on the show a couple of weeks ago. I think it went live, less than a week ago, but Dr. Brittany Dickinson, and she runs Loft up in there. And next door, next to her dental loft, she has this thing called the Plump Room.
Okay.
And it's an aesthetic practice that she is really passionate about. And she got into it kind of the same, because obviously, she wanted to increase revenue, but she's also just passionate but her thing was she didn't want to just, go do the selling sunset sort of style of, lips. She was going for symmetry. And
Okay.
she started using it just to sort of complement the smile makeover work that she did. She really wanted it to be natural and looking at things. As she did that aesthetic side of her practice started to grow, and she's quite the injectionist now. The dentist, part of what makes a compelling smile is the symmetry of the cheeks and the all the things. And yeah, and that's how she started doing it. And she, has really
Wow.
done well layering in aesthetics. I had a question on the
Huh?
employee retention credits, the ERC stuff. And this is a very ignorant question, so forgive me. I have heard since everyone is now talking about it, that it has now raised the awareness of the IRS that they're looking at the ERCs closer than they perhaps previously did in previous years.
That
Is
is
that something
correct.
you're hearing? Is that just a rumor that I'm hearing?
No, that's not a rumor. That's actually true. That,
I see.
if you do decide to, move forward with filing for the ERC credit with one of these companies, just be sure that they know what they're doing. They're following all the rules before they file for the credit. Because if not, you could get into trouble.
Are you telling me that there are people out there that would have a company file a tax credit that was not my CPA and tax team? That
Yes,
that
yes.
you're lying.
No, I
I would
am
never do
serious.
that in a
I'm
world.
very serious. Exactly, right?
Who
See,
who
that's what
who
I
who
say. That
who does that? Goodness.
oh, tell me about it. It's crazy. I mean, even the word tax is in there, and you would
Mm-mm,
think that's
mm-mm.
something that would have a CPA do it.
No, there's one person doing my taxes, and I'm not putting two in that group. No. Mm-mm. Yeah,
But
that's funny.
sometimes they have this pitch, that even the smartest of people out there sometimes get persuaded. I mean, and it's usually like this. They're like, oh, you may be eligible for the ERC credit of up to $26,000 per employee. And then when you're thinking, oh, wow, I've got like 10 employees on my payroll, that's $260,000. Immediately,
I'm
they go like,
excited.
oh,
Quarter
goodness.
million
Yeah.
bucks.
Yeah. Right there. Yeah. How do I get this done? Let's get this rolling. The other thing I always tell people is that, have your alert antenna up kind of whenever you hear something like that. Um, because most of these companies, they charge you a percentage of whatever credit you're going to get. So it is in their best interest to make sure you get the highest credit. And if necessary, if they need to avoid some of the rules to get you qualified for that credit, they will do that. We have seen that.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
a huge mess to fix it later.
And part of the employee tax credit was you had to be shut down via is am I remembering it right? Like it wasn't
No,
just you arbitrarily close.
no,
You had
absolutely.
to be denied the ability to conduct business.
That is true.
If I remember, is that okay? Okay, yeah.
That's one part of it. That's definitely one part of it. And then,
Look at the marketing guy go.
hey, that's good. Staying informed really helps. And that's something I always tell people that, there's a difference between being an employee versus an employer. Once you're an employer, you're the boss, you need to educate yourself more, be more proactive. You can't just focus on clinical work, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you telling me that tells me that you're a good entrepreneur.
I feel like it some days.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Some days I feel like I'm on my game. Kind of transitioning over. How are your offices doing in 2023 so far? I know you mentioned the projections. We used to see the same. I mean, we used to rely on June and July being great months for a lot of our practices, assuming the doctors weren't taking vacations and stuff. And um, December used to be gangbusters and September used to be slow, and I think some of those trends still live there, but they're definitely sort of squashing a little bit and being compressed. But how are you guys doing in 2023 so far?
I think for a lot of our clients, then at least most of the ones that I've looked at, it seemed like March was their best month, and I'm still to figure out why. I've had a
Hmm.
few phone calls with them, and they just said, it was just good. I would ask them like, did you do anything different? And they're like, no, it just seemed like, it was just a good month. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of good to know. Doesn't really help me with figuring out what can be implemented,
Yeah.
on a consistent level so we can have that same
Hmm.
amount of collections every month.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, but 2023, honestly, have personally, I feel like it's better, especially for the established clients. And I'm talking about at least uh, the ones that are doing 1.2 million a year. Uh,
Hmm.
2023 has been better. Uh, some of the startups, again, if they have utilized proper marketing, it has been a game changer for them. But for the ones that haven't really changed anything, if they've stayed on that same status quo, I've actually seen them degrade, like their collections falling.
Soften a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But
that's really interesting. We've seen similar our established practices that have good brand identity, that have consistently put forth a good product, gotten consistent reviews, things like that. They're growing. They've had great months. We have seen some weakness in the
Mhm,
startups, yeah,
mhm,
as well. Yeah, the de novos specifically.
right.
Yeah.
And I think I need to mention this that I know that even when our clients are talking with us, we sometimes go over benchmarks with them. However, if you are a startup, of course, those numbers don't mean anything, right? Because you're
Hmm.
barely
Hmm.
collecting. So, it's like, what are you going to spend? In those instances, I always tell them that, set aside a flat rate per month that you can spend on marketing, and it's okay to overspend. Just set up like a campaign period, like
Yeah.
try it out for a few months and see uh, what you get at the end of the pipeline because it takes some time before those changes are implemented to see a result. Um, and it just goes back to that old saying that to make money, you have to spend money. And marketing is one of those
Hmm.
things that I always feel like makes a big difference. And in the right areas, too, I should mention, because, I feel like whenever I talk with people about marketing, they go, oh, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about like SEO, website,
Hmm. Hmm.
social
Hmm.
media.
Hmm.
And they just leave it there. And I'm like, okay, we are in 2023, so it seems like majority of people know what those things are. But when we're talking about the industry, we have to talk about specifics, what works and what doesn't. And just because something worked for your friend who's in a different city doesn't mean it's going to work with you. So to be able to go over those specifics, I always feel like talking to someone or a professional company that specializes in this industry will definitely go a long way. And
Yeah,
it changes, right? The market changes.
it
What
does.
may have worked 10 years ago may not work anymore.
I think that the investment in marketing, especially in a startup, I like it in the branding. I like it in the photography and video. I like
Mm,
it in narrating a story of what you represent.
mm,
I don't love it in pay per click ads. I don't love it in mailers.
mm,
And I think of renting versus buying. I think that if you invest in your website, if you invest in the branding around it, if you invest in those things, I think those are good long term investments that will last you 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. What I don't like about PPC postcards and things like that,
mm,
especially in the early days, I think
mm,
there's a role for everything in marketing. I don't love postcards in 2023 under any scenario, but that's a different story. But I like PPC ads when you add a doctor and you want to boost. I like PPC ads when you run technology and you want to get your word out there quickly. But like, I think that good content on your website is always worth investing in,
mm,
especially if you're a startup. And I know that people will be like, well, PPC drives calls. And sure, it does. But if you don't have a good underlying site and footprint, I don't like the investment in there. Yeah.
yeah,
But
makes sense. Absolutely.
yeah. Man, Ash, this has been amazing. And thank you so much for your time. And
Oh,
thanks for being on
absolutely.
the show.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. It was
Great
a pleasure.
insights. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. And, before we sign off, just to summarize, I would like to just mention that there have been changes in 2023 uh, in comparison to those COVID years that I would like to call. For some of our established clients, it's been more of an uptick. Some of the startups think of other additional services to add that can actually help get that growth that your friends may have talked to you about. You may think what you heard from other people or read on articles, but talk to some professionals to get more insights that may be more specific to your practice. And again, this is a beautiful beginning with you guys having actually a podcast, a platform where people can listen to all this free advice. I mean, that's amazing. I
Hmm.
love that about this platform
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
there's a lot of good content out there. And with our small world, the dental world, any information, good, solid, credible information that we get goes a long way.
Awesome, man. Thanks for being on the show.
Sure, sure. Yeah, absolutely. It was a pleasure being here.